Hi everyone, and welcome to this video in which I'm going to be talking about what it means when Saturn is conjunct the moon in a birth chart. You might have this, you might know someone who has this placement. So in order to understand that, we have to know what is the moon and what is Saturn. So Saturn is the planet of limitation, of reality, of time, of restriction, and its limits of what is possible. The moon represents emotions. It's what your emotional needs are in order to feel safe, secure, fulfilled, and happy. It's self care, nurturing, and it is also the internal subjective experience. It's also representative of your experience with the mother as well, or with the family. So what happens when we put these two together? Well, what we're seeing is Saturn is a planet that is about structure and limitation. So when we put that to the moon, which is about emotions, we think like this person has restricted emotions, less emotions. That's not actually true. These people have just as much emotions as anyone else. However, there is a limit. There absolutely is a limitation on their comfortability, like how comfortable they are with their emotions. They're less likely to be comfortable with them, um, or less likely to be comfortable expressing them as well. Like expressing like this is what my emotional needs are. This is what I need and want to feel secure and and like satisfied, and they might not feel comfortable doing this, and there can be a discomfort with their own emotions, being like, well, I'm going to ignore them, or I'm just going to forget about them, or put them in a box. And so like this is something that the Saturn conjunct moon person can really do. So it can be very private as well. Saturn is limitation, so it's a limitation of the expression of the moon principle. So that is more private about your emotions and your wants and your needs and stuff like that. And yeah, it's like, yeah, holding things in, and not sharing things so much. I think there's like a tendency of being like, just going to get on with it. I'm just going to work hard, and I'm not going to get upset because there's no point. But sometimes that emotion is within you, like, and maybe like the healthiest thing to do is to experience your emotions, whether that is to cry or to laugh, and or to feel angry or whatever, like in order to express this in a healthy way. But Saturn conjunct moon people, they might just kind of restrict this and be like, no, I'm not going to feel that. I'm just going to deal with tasks and work and stuff like that. So they don't always do this, but it's a big thing. So because the Saturn is so restrictive, so like I'm saying, it can't make the moon disappear, but it can restrict the moon's expression. So Saturn and the moon, they're very oppositional to each other. They're very alien to each other. They don't see eye to eye. They don't really like to team up. They don't often team up. So like it's not a bad conjunction at all. Like nothing's bad here. But in fact, this is very good in a way. This leads to very strong people, very hardworking people, very responsible and dutiful people as well. But it can be uncomfortable for them. The moon is associated with the fourth house, and Saturn is associated with the 10th house and the 11th house as well. So we have that fourth, 10th house axis. They're opposite to each other, So you take an oppositional energy and you're putting it together, and so there's going to be some interesting results, and that's what we have here. It's interesting, So there is, yeah, definitely a restriction on the experience of their emotional needs and their feelings. It's like you're pushing them away a lot, So another thing is like they are very, very hard workers. I think they generally put productivity very high up in their priority, goal orientated. They could burn the candle at both ends. I'm going to stay up late, I'm going to work hard, and I'm going to get up early the next morning. I'm going to work hard as well, to the point of maybe ill health, exhaustion, lack of sleep, and I feel like There's also being very busy in general and being, I think Saturn conjunct moon people, they might have a lot of lists. Saturn is structure and routine and time. So I'm thinking post-it notes and like this is good. It's good to be organized, but I'm thinking that like there's so much of this to the point where like there needs to be room for breathing space. Like I'm just gonna chill and I'm just gonna not really be working. But Saturn conjunct moon people, they might find it hard to access that space where they're just chilling, because you're like, well, I could be doing something, I could be working. And I think it's not just because like they want to work hard, which they do. I also think it's because that working hard serves a very powerful utility for them, in which that is that when they're working, when they're busy, they don't have time for the feelings to come in, the emotions to come in, the messy emotions, the messy feelings, the things that might make them feel overwhelmed. And they want to control and restrict, but they can't necessarily do that. So this is why I think these people like to keep busy like a lot, because when they stop, the thoughts come in, So these people, they can deal with depression a lot. So Saturn is like I'm saying, it's a colder, it's a more somber energy, So when we put that in the emotions, like the moon, we are seeing someone that can be, they can deal with depression, and as well. These are more stoic people. It's very stoic, hardworking, and they can be really hard on themselves. So that's the thing, like Saturn is restrictive, and the moon is self-care and nurturing. So this part of themselves, they can be really restrictive with that, and like, well, I need to get on with it, and they might be really hurting inside, but they're like, I just need to get on with it. So like this is uncomfortable and it's not so good in the long term. However, like these people can be very good in a crisis situation. Saturn conjunct moon, it's like, yeah, they can be tough, in a situation where they need to be tough. So this is very strong stuff here. So yeah, it can be really hard on themselves, highly self-critical as well. Um, Really a big sense of duty and responsibility as well. And it's like, so like, why are they this way? You could say the reason they are this way is because they have Saturn conjunct the moon in the birth chart. I don't believe in doing that. So personally, I don't believe that, like, Saturn conjunct the moon is what causes the person to be this way. Like, oh, they are this way, that's because Saturn was conjunct the moon, and then the energy from space came down and made them this way. This isn't what I believe. I don't necessarily believe that the stars have an actual effect on us in that way. I believe that they represent us. So it's not the cause, but it's a correlation. It's a synchronicity. Like if I look at a person's birth chart and I say they got Saturn conjunct moon, I'm going to see, this person is this way, and they've likely had these experiences. So it represents a person who is this way, but it doesn't cause it. But it represents someone who has these qualities and has had these experiences. This is what I believe anyway. It's like a synchronicity thing. So why are they this way? So it's not the stars. I think, it is their experiences growing up. And the moon, we know represents the mother, represents the family. And Saturn is a more cold and distant planet. So I'm thinking these people, they likely had their material needs met when they were young, when they were growing up. Saturn, good at that, The moon represents the mother, so that is there. However, I think the emotional nurturing wasn't there. I think that wasn't there. I think Saturn conjunct moon, these people learned really early on to be emotionally self-sufficient, not because they wanted to be, but because they had to be, because they experienced expressing their emotions and their needs, trying to get their emotional needs met, trying to express that, what they're thinking and feeling, and then having that met with like, well, like not having those needs met, being like, well, maybe the mother was out of the house a lot, maybe she had to work really hard, maybe she just wasn't there, maybe she was there, but she just wasn't interested in helping you develop emotionally. She wasn't maybe comfortable with that. Maybe she had her own problems. So a feeling of that being like, well, I need to just be if I'm expressing my emotions and I'm getting hurt because they're not responding in a way that helps me, they're basically telling me to get on with it. So that's what I will do. I will just get on with it. And how do they do that? Well, they keep busy. They keep busy. They work hard. They keep a structure in place with their emotions, and they kind of block them away a little bit. It's like I'm saying, they're not less emotional. If anything, sometimes they're more emotional. It's just still waters run deep kind of thing. So yeah, parents probably very strict as well. Saturn, it's like structure. So it could be really rigid rules at home as well. Um, Loneliness as well, and that's a big thing, like a kind of sense of loneliness. And yeah, so I feel like that's why they grow up to be this way as adults. So yeah, it's like safety and security focused as well as a result of that. So I feel like they're like, well, I have to be. So they probably had to grow up earlier than what maybe they should have. So this is what makes them really dutiful and really responsible as well. Maybe they yeah, we're working from a young age as well. That's the thing. Saturn is, associated with like those kind of things. So putting that with the moon, that is your childhood experience, your experience with the mother. This is what gives you a sense of emotional security, is to be Saturn like, because this is like what you've learned, growing up. So yeah, I mean, like that's basically it, really. So we're talking about someone who's very strong, dutiful, responsible, hardworking, someone who they feel uncomfortable with their emotions, though, and they don't feel comfortable expressing them, and they might not always feel comfortable with other people's emotions as well. That's the thing. So, and I think they maybe like very private people, like to hide away, spend a lot of time on their own, maybe deal with a lot of depressions. Well, not a lot of depression, but this is something that is there with Saturn. But still waters run deep. Very emotional people. They are. They just need an outlet. So, um, what would be good for Saturn conjunct Moon? I don't know. Maybe like exercise. No, like I don't know. Listen to music, art. Something where they don't have to be maybe feeling confronted, talking about how they feel. They could maybe have like a, a an extra step. So like that's what I'm thinking. Art and music and stuff like that. They can put their emotions into music, into song. They can put their emotions on paper, on canvas. That way, they don't have to be so direct about expressing their emotions and that. So I think these people could be highly artistic, and this could serve as a really good outlet for their emotions. But yeah, so that's about it really for this video. If you liked it, please leave a like, please leave a comment, hit the bell icon, and yeah, I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.